Hi everybody, I am picking the top 12 videos that I loved doing and the places that I loved exploring in 2020 and in 2021. It was a very hard choice because there was so many places that I liked, but I would say these were the ones that were the So the first video that I will be posting will be of a flower shop that had cars and tractors. Actually, I should say antique cars. It was a pretty cool place to actually check out and explore. I like this place a lot, I guess due to the fact that I like cars. But it was a good find and it was nice. So this video that you are about to watch is me exploring an abandoned storage units. This place was really big. It had boats, it had old TVs, it had old trailers, it had old car parts. It was a very interesting find, and it was a lot of walking there. I do remember when I was there, I stepped in the big puddle. That was not fun. But here's the video for you guys to enjoy. This video that you're going to be watching is me exploring the Enchanted Forest. I would say there wasn't much there, but it was still fun to check it out and to explore. A little history, I actually used to go there when I was a little kid. I did find the old slide. I did find what looked like a train ride, and I found the top of the castles, Cinderella's castle, I should say, and I found the entrance gate and some like little tunnel. But it was a nice find, and I'm glad I went before they tear it down. of me exploring an abandoned house with another explorer. I don't know very much about the place. I do know that it was on top of a hill and probably is being torn down. This house had like old wine bottles, it had liquor bottles. It was kind of an interesting place. I don't think very many people knew about it, but it was still nice to explore and check it out. So this video that you're going to be watching now is me exploring an abandoned pool with another explorer. I don't know much about the history of this place, but I would say this was a very interesting find, and I actually liked exploring this place. I wish I knew more about it, but I don't. But I do know that there was fish actually inside the pool. This must have been like a community pool back in the day, and then it went abandoned. In this video, we will be exploring an abandoned RV camp. I don't know much about the history of this place. All I know is that it was pretty cool to check these all out. I don't know why they were torn apart. Also, when I was there, I could smell like somebody was making a fire and stripping the RVs and burning them. It was nice. It was a long walk, but it was a lot of stuff on the ground you had to be careful of so you wouldn't trip. So this video that you're going to be watching now, I'm exploring some bungalows and also the old town of Warren, Maryland. I was actually really surprised I found this. It was a lot of nice walking, a lot of graffiti, a lot of holes, but hey, it was still kind of cool to check it all out. I actually didn't know this existed. I was like totally surprised to actually find this place, but I found it and I decided to make a video of it. And I'm glad I did because it's pretty cool. So this video that you're watching now is me exploring an abandoned dormitory. I was with a friend. While we were there, there was other explorers that showed up. I don't know much about the history of this place, and when I went down to the basement, it was really, really dark. But it was a fun place to explore and one of my favorites. That's why I'm adding it to this video. So this video is of Savage Mills. So a little bit of history of this place. At one time, dozens of water-powered textile mills lined Maryland's rivers, surrounded by villagers populated by mill workers. They were the center of industrial life. Now, almost all of the mills are gone, but historic Savage Mills remains. Historic Salvage Mills had its beginning in 1810 when Commodore Joshua Birney, a hero of the Revolutionary Navy, settled in Howard County. He quickly saw the power potential of the Little Patuxent River and began assembling land along its rapids. The salvage mill complex was started in early 1822 when Commodore Joshua Birney's son-in-law Nathaniel Williams, along with his brothers George, Cumberland, and others, began building a textile mill near the joining of the Middle and Little Patuxent rivers. They used Birney's mill race as the power source. The company was named after John Savage of Philadelphia, who was a friend of George William and had loaned money for the project. Typically of the times entitled families workers at the mills. The hours were long and the work was enormous. Although life was hard for the mill workers, Savage Mills cared for its own. The company's store provided most of life's essentials. The farm supplies fresh produce, and the ice plant furnished ice for homes. By the early 1920s, the workers' homes had been connected to the mill's water system, serviced by the mill's sewage system, and received light by factory-gained electricity. The company even built a community hall that had a bowling alley and a free library. Today, many generations of the early Mills families still live in the village of Savage Mills, and the library is now part of Howard County's library system. In 1859, the original Savage manufacturing housing were sold in two parts. The buyers were William H. Baldwin, Jr. and Anne Arundel County. The seller was Nathaniel Williams, who was now nearing his 80th year and was the sole surviving member of the Williams brothers who began the company with the looming threat of the Civil War and a vision of harder times to come. Mr. Baldwin appeared to have let his new holdings remain idle for many years. However, in the 1870s, major changes were made to the water source and to the methods of relying power to the building. A new water wheel was built at the river. So in this video, you'll be watching Winterborn Mansion. So a little bit of history about this place. Winterborn Mansion is a Victorian-era house built in 1884 by Erock and Mary Totten. Erock Totten was a Civil War veteran and Washington lawyer. Mary Totten was extremely wealthy as her father was Thomas Howe, a senator of Wisconsin, who was the cousin of their heirs, Howard, known for perfecting and sewing machines. Ellis Howe also created the Bobby Winter, which inspired the namesake of the house. Originally, Winterborn was painted pink, complemented by dark rose trims. The Tottens had a love for gardening and staffing gardeners year-round to maintain the exotic plants they imported from around the world. Many locals believe the house is to be haunted, in part because of the intimate tragedy that occurred there. All three of the Totten children contracted fever, likely from drinking contaminated water. One of the children died from this. Another daughter, Ethan Totten, who became a doctor, adopted a daughter of her own who died after sliding down a long banister in the house and likely falling off. In 1929, the house saw a change of ownership to Edward and Bullock Pickerel. Their son, Edward, inherited the house and stayed there until his death in 2004. His brother, Paxton Pickerel, had been attempting to sell the long decaying property for years to no avail. The house is currently abandoned and has no plans for renovation. The site is a photographer's dream. The property is 9 acres with several old muscle cars in the backyard, along with spawning trees and flowers. It also is located right against the Back Hills Regional Park with a great view of the water. The interior of the house is littered with old furniture, letters, magazines, and clothes. So as of 2021, the house was sold and it's now being renovated and repaired. So this video you're about to watch is exploring the Ma and Pa Railroad, which is also Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad. So here's a little bit of history about it. The Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad was formed from two early 19th century 3-foot narrow gauge railways, the Baltimore and Delta Railway. Later, the Baltimore and Lee Railway and the York and Peach Bottom Railway. Later, the York Southern Railway. Construction of the Baltimore and Delta Railway started in 1881, and passenger trains between Baltimore and Towson, Maryland began on April 17th, 1882. Later that year, the company was merged into the Maryland Central Railroad. The line was extended northward to Bellaire, Maryland, on June 1st, 1883, and the following January, the line was completed to Delta, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the Peach Bottom Railway was incompleted in 1871. The railway's middle division led narrow gauge tracks between York and Red Lion. By August 1874, and completed its line northward to Delta in 1876. It went bankrupt in 1881 and was reorganized as the York and Peach Bottom Railway, or also known as Y&PB, in 1882. The Y&PB merged with the Maryland Central Railway, successor of the Maryland Central RR Railroad. In 1891 became the Baltimore and Lee, and the new company operated trains on the combined tracks between York and Baltimore. Baltimore and Lee Railways, Baltimore Passenger Station in the 1890s. Later, the Ma and Pa Station until demolished in 1937. Both railroads struggled with light freight traffic and financial difficulties in the 1890s because of their narrow gauge construction. The Baltimore and Lee Railway and York Southern Railroad could not interchange freight cars with other lines. The two companies finally converted to single gauge between 1898 and 1900. The subsequently merged to the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad on February 12, 1909. The result was catastrophic. 77.2 miles Ma and Pa route between Baltimore and York completed the accompanying Pennsylvania Railroad more direct 56-mile distance between the two cities on the Northern Central Railway Division. The completed line had grades up to 2.3% and a 55 sharp curve of 16/20 degrees. Most mainline railroads seldomly exceed 6 degrees, and even the former Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad mainline through the Rocky Mountains does not exceed 12 grades. Following the merger, the Ma and Pa operated through passenger and freight trains between York and Baltimore, as well as local trains at each end of the line, hauling mail and express, slate, marble, coal, lumber, furniture, and products onto the market. The Pennsylvania Division, Delta, York, slate from Delta, and manufactured goods from Red Lion and York were mainstays of the railroad outbound freight traffic in the early years. On the Maryland Division, inbound coal. So this video you're going to be watching is of Uplands Mansion. Here's a little history of this place. The first pioneer to claim the land at Hunting Ridge west of Baltimore was John, who had obtained a permit for 400 acres in 1865. The property, later deeded to English colonist John Bailey, was eventually sold by Bailey's son to Daniel in 1769. Bailey, who had tried to remain impartial during the Revolutionary War, was forced to sell his estate into 4 parcels after nodding to his loyalist friends, losing their property to colonist investors. One of the plots was sold to John Swan, who constructed Uplands, a 42-room Victorian-style mansion, in 1850. Mary Flick Garrett Jacobs, granddaughter of Swan, divided her time between her numerous homes. Jacobs and her husband Robert, president of the Baltimore and Ohio 5, stayed at their residence in Mount Vernon or Uplands during the winter months, or at White Home in Newport, Rhode Island, Bar Harbor, Deer Park, or Uplands during the warmer months. Accompanying them was a staff of 17 servants and 18 laborers who transported her trunks and belongings as they moved from place to place according to their seasonal and social calendars. In 1885, the couple hired Francis Baldwin of Baldwin and Pennington to renovate Uplands. Baldwin was well regarded for his work with Baltimore and Ohio and with the Roman Catholic Church. After Garrett died of kidney failure in 1896, Jacobs began using Uplands as her primary residence. She welded Garrett's doctor Henry Bolton Jacobs in 1902, both remaining at Uplands until 1929. Mary Jacobs died in 1936, leaving behind an estate worth $5.5 million to her husband. She had willing the Uplands estate and 1,000,00 to the Precincts Episcopal Church throughout. None of the principal funds could be used for the rehabilitation, construction, or maintenance of Uplands. Additionally, the will stated that the house should be modernized with electricity as well as still lit with gas. Uplands home for church women. In her will, Jacobs desired Uplands to be transformed into a home for lonely church women unable to provide in a whole or part of their own maintenance and support. She specifically that no religion service could be held in the home except by a sermon in a good standing with the Protestant Episcopal Church. The conversion of Uplands into a home for the elderly was delayed as the church awaited for investors to build from the principal, and because the government restrictions, material shortages, and cost inflations as a result of Pearl Harbor and World War II. A series of wartime fires took enormous lives in elderly care homes, which led to changes in building material and fireproofing standard nationwide. Additionally, the Episcopal Discourse of Maryland disagreed that Uplands would be suitable site for the aged. A report produced by James A. Letter, president of the board of managers of the home, noted that Uplands would require considerable reconstruction and money to bring it up to standards for a nursing home. The 42-room mansion would need an electrician, of fireproof brick staff for an elevator and iron staircase, and the construction of fire-resistant stairways at each end of the building. There were also large rooms that could not be easily divided. The church offered to build a suitable home for the aged adjacent to the church home and hospital at Broadway and Fairmont Avenue. The organization argued that medical and nursing staff would be more ready, available, and that its proposal would be more economical than offering a small number of nurses and doctors at Uplands. The convention of the Episcopal Discourse of Maryland voted in favor of the proposal in January 1949, a sentence that would reverse a year later. The constructions of Uplands into a home for the aged began in August 1950 when a contractor was signed with the Engineer Company of Baltimore for $531,500. Works involved the replace of scallop clipboard with stucco and the construction of a fireproof annex connected to the original residence via a glass encased passageway. The new building contained 36 single bedrooms and an infirmary, while the original structure was renovated into a dining room, living room, church, library, chapel, kitchen, and living quarters for the staff. The new Uplands home for church women was expected to open by October 1st, 1951. Although it did not admit its first resident until 1952. In November 1984, the decision was made to relocate the 30 residents of Uplands to Fairhaven, a fair-service retirement community near Sykesville. The $7.5 million project involving building a 3-story sanctuarium and constructing of Uplands Hall and the renovation of the historic Beesman home. Uplands discontinued taking applicants by August 1986. Only 21 residents remained. By late fall, after Uplands had been sold to a new Baptist church, the last of the remaining individuals were transferred to Fairhaven. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And also make sure you hit that like button down below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And also make sure you hit that like button down below. Thanks for watching.